Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Dorks Podcast, episode 15. I always mess up the intro. I need to figure out like a solid intro for every episode. Like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's the podcast where we don't really give a shit about anything. But then when it always comes to the moment, I never do it. So, whatever. It's akin to a super unprofessional podcast. Regardless, my name is Tasty Snackies, always brought to you with my co-host, McBee. How's it going, McBee?
It's great today. I broadcasted earlier on today, and I had a good show. Had some delicious taco time, and I'm feeling good.
Any highlights from your show? Like any particular songs that you fancied?
No, just today I talked about the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants passing away, and a guy who was involved with Rocko's Modern Life. Lou Gehrig's disease, or at least that was announced today.
I had heard rumblings about it, but I never looked too deep into it.
Hey, he was an interesting dude, man. He studied marine biology, and then he went to like Cal Arts or something like that. And after he did that, he cooked up a lot of the imagery that you saw in Rocko's Modern Life, and then made SpongeBob SquarePants. Kind of the awesomeness that it was, that kind of like unlimited factory of joy that SpongeBob SquarePants ends up being. Why it pairs so nicely with cannabis.
Well, speaking of SpongeBob SquarePants with Rocko's Modern Life, our guest today, if I believe correctly, he makes a podcast talking about these cartoons in specific. Isn't that right, John?
That's right, sir. Yeah, YouTunes podcast with Cody Smith, or not Cody Smith. We have talked about the Nicktoons. Yeah, Steven Hillenberg, sorry. I was drinking earlier and will be drinking again soon. He passed away today at like 54 years old or something stupid, like something so young, of Lou Gehrig's disease. And we were super bummed about that. It kind of changed the trajectory of our podcast today, our Magic podcast. We added, it was like a little parody at the beginning in the intro where we just pretended like it was a YouTunes podcast, and the chat was going crazy. Everyone was pissed off. They're like, no, we want to talk about magic. And then finally, like, Slivers broke through and he's just like, no, this is 10th Street. But yeah, it sucked, man. Like, I don't care how old you are. SpongeBob is awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, of course. I've been meaning to have you on forever. It's just I take forever. I'm the king of procrastination, but I'm really glad to finally have you on my show, man. You are really good at podcasting. As a channel that posts almost podcasts exclusively, I would just say, man, you've put in the work, you put in the hours. You know what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man. That's crazy coming from you, being the fact that we all, like, you started before I did, but if anyone doesn't know the story, Nick and Coach from the Card Bazaar, and Matt from Dracovan Empire, we were all in this like amino chat. Do you care if I share the story?
No, go for it.
Okay. We were all in this like amino chat, like right when I started YouTube. I was doing like really shitty Walking Dead and really, really shitty Magic deck techs back then. And we were all like, the four of us in the chat, just like, man, could you imagine if one day we could put together a podcast and it's going to be so cool and magic? And then, look, almost 2 years later, and we're kind of doing it, right? Like it's
halfway.
Yeah.
Partially. There's that idea has always been in the back of my mind, like some sort of community effort. And this has been something that I've been talking about with another channel. And this, I'm not going to get like too much into details because nothing's like set in stone yet. And I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but I've been working with this much larger channel because they have a specific handle on the internet that we're going to take advantage of and take advantage of a certain presence. So the effort, or the end goal being that I want it to be like a community effort with a bunch of content creators. And that was, we were talking earlier about, it was like multiverse podcast. If I can find it, if I can recall correctly sometime in the future, maybe I can get that handle back and that account back on YouTube. Cause I did set that up. I did manage to make that step, but yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. Multiverse, good one.
Yeah. Multiverse. But this other idea is also quite clever as well, because when I did multiverse, I checked to see that if it was like copyright or not copyrighted, I believe copyrighted, Yeah, I think that was the term that I was looking for, just for like monetization or something like that. See if Wizards already beat me to the ball too, and I was like, no, okay, well maybe I can put a name there and beat him to the punch. And
Sure.
It is kind of a used term for a lot of different things. It's like scientific, you know, like classification. Well, not classification, but I guess kind of a theory. So
yeah, you can't really copyright it. So
I still stole it a little bit. I use it a little bit. If you watch the Hive Mind, I always say, you know, this is the show I traverse the multiverse. So I still keep it. It's a little nod to the olden days when you know, we weren't jaded and full of too much alcohol and you know, bad cards.
Yeah, before the bad cards and then the Pringle cards and then just everything compounding on top of each other just kind of went on top. But you brought up that you do the Hive Mind podcast, so that's one of your main features of your channel. That's Magic the Gathering content. Your other one is 10th Street Hooligans, where it's more of a roundtable discussion with a varied host of creators. What other type of content do you make on there?
So, yeah, my channel's always been a hodgepodge of stuff, but I could never cut out the movie stuff. I've always been into the film industry in one like form or fashion, whether it be acting, voiceover, or my mom owned a production company when she was alive. So I've always kind of been around that style of just lifestyle, and I've always loved it. So yes, I always love Magic, but I always go back to movies and film and TV shows and all that. So the two, well, I guess the three podcasts video podcasts aside from the Magic stuff, the first one would be Director's Cut, where Jason Alt from Brainstorm Brewery, he's a pretty big dude in the Magic community. He and I'm just like over the moon to have him signed on as a permanent co-host, because he's awesome. He was super excited about kind of, he wanted to break out of the just Magic stuff and kind of go into something else. And I was just lucky. I was like right place, right time. Cause Jason's fantastic.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I'm stoked for you to land that kind of a catch, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, he's hilarious and dry and just the right amount of pretentious. And then yeah, it's right. Then Real Actors is where we kind of do the same. Or well, Director's Cut, we pick a filmmaker and go over their entire filmography, and then Real Actors.
Fun.
What's that?
Ooh, fun. That sounds cool.
Oh, it's man, it's probably what I put the most time into. Research wise, because I'm watching all these movies, looking at so many interviews and stuff from the filmmakers. And then that's one of the two, like the Hive Mind, it's one of the two that I actually edit again. I told myself I was done editing so I could just do live casts like this. And then, you know, the Hive Mind kind of took off a little bit, and then Director's Cut. So I'm like, these are my two flagships. I'm okay with putting time in. Real Actors is kind of the same thing, but we focused on a single actor this Thursday, and that's done with my sisters, which is kind of bizarre. But yeah, if you see any of my Twitter posts, we're doing Neil Breen. If you're a Red Letter fan, Nick, you probably know who Neil Breen is. McBee.
Yeah. I don't. Who's Neil Breen?
You don't need to know. It's just disgusting, right?
Well, I was about to say, you know, Tommy Wiseau, right, McBee?
Okay, yeah.
Take that, but like amplify it by like 10 or 20. Just an artist who commits.
On a zero budget. He's actually like an architect in real life, and he's a 60-year-old man in Vegas, but he's constantly. He shows his ball sack and his ass in every single movie he makes.
Hey, me too, man. Me too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. You got it. And then
any chance that I get, really. I mean, there's a camera. It could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what cameras are for. That's what the internet's for.
You know, that's a weird intersection of things, by the way. Can we talk at some point in the cast today about Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Magic?
Sure. I'll write it down right now, but continue on what you were saying.
I think we should table it for later on when we get through the introduction and everything. But still, it's crazy to me to see somebody who is that, not just that wealthy, but that famous play Magic the Gathering. That shit blew my mind the other day when I saw it on the internet. I was like, "Yo,
McBee, you're doing it, McBee."
Sorry.
You're dragging Jeez.
Table it for later, man. Table it for later. Take it and table it.
That's cool, though. I mean, I've always been a fan of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and that, man, was that a great PR move for, that's like getting Kanye to wear the stupid Trump hat, right? It's like that's what you want to do to get your name out there, is to get these movie stars playing Magic. There was a little bit with the football player Cassius Marks. That's
Lord.
They love that. And then now that from Command Zone Jimmy is now in a Disney movie, he's going to be, mark my words, the Command Zone within a year, because of Jimmy Wong, probably will be bigger than Talarian, will be bigger than Wedge, all that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite possible. And then if you think about it, the possibilities, he could have other celebrity guests on game nights through like other people that he meets while making his movies and stuff. And
dude, okay,
it's growing, man.
Here's what I'm waiting for: somebody in like real political office to acknowledge and or talk about playing Magic the Gathering. Like if somebody gets in office and they talk about the need for like recreation and how it like, grows communities and minds and stuff like that, like that's going to be the moment that I'm like, wow, Magic the Gathering has come very far.
You think that would be a possibility?
I would wager to say that there are politicians right now who certainly who know what Magic the Gathering is, but maybe that have played.
Well, there's politicians that I know of, whoever Trump replaced Jeff Sessions with. It's been like a meme going around that he's like a hardcore gamer, so everyone's just been like memeing on that.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and video games are one step away from Magic. You're one nerd dial turned up from Magic the Gathering. You're playing video games.
But everything in Magic takes so long, right? Like look at now they finally put out a good digital product where Hearthstone was out forever. We still don't have a Magic movie. I can't believe that hasn't been made yet. And we're getting, what was the stupid? Oh, there's a Ugly Teddy Bears or whatever movie coming out. Are you kidding me? That's like a Beanie Baby. It's like, but we can't get a Magic the Gathering movie? Jesus.
No. That's so true. Like, and they've been talking about it for forever, but it's just, it continues to be in production hell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we heard about it 2 years ago that there was going to be a Magic movie.
Well, not
4 years ago now. 4 years.
Not only have they announced a Magic movie, but I also remember it had to have been in the last year, maybe 2 years. They've announced a Magic the Gathering like MMO RPG game.
What?
Yeah. Do you remember this? Like this was about a year ago.
Oh yeah, just vaguely though. Like
yeah. It was just a really vague, and I think they said like Platinum Games was going to development. Then again, this was a long time ago, so I probably don't recall the information correctly. But they've made weird offshoot announcements like this before that I was just like, what? And then you never heard anything about it again. Maybe in the back of my mind, I was thinking like Hasbro was getting confident in their brands. They're like trying to reach out to as many people as possible, and then like maybe a little recession hit with like the standard bannings and everything, so like they're just like, all right, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. That's my assertion.
From what I heard, they were looking at how the Dark Tower did financially, how they made it, how they kind of, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dark Tower series from Stephen King, but how that was made was a factor on how they were going to tackle a Magic movie. Because if the Dark Tower, how they made it, how it was just kind of rushed and kind of shitty, if that did well, if that went over like gangbusters, then they would have pumped out a Magic movie in like a year. But since it was pined, it's an IP that people were waiting for and people loved. Now they're like, we can't have another Dungeons and Dragons movie, so we're going to have to wait until we actually know what we're doing.
Yo, you know what? The high fantasy element to it, I think is a major part of it too, because you have to have something of a pretty high quality for people to really swallow the high fantasy thing. Like Game of Thrones is your top tier, and certainly the Dungeons and Dragons movies down there at the bottom.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I mean, what would be comparable? Maybe like Harry Potter is about as close as you get it, or like The Magicians or something like that. I think you probably have to have something that's like as good as The Magicians on Sci-Fi or better in terms of production quality. Otherwise, people are going to be like, no.
I was about to say, I guess a good metric in terms of recent fantasy movies would be, I'd want to look at the Warcraft earnings that came out in 2016, because that's the closest to like Magic as far as movies are concerned in recent history that I can recall.
Yeah, I think that's probably the capper right there.
And from what I understand, from what I understand, it did moderately well in America, but they were kind of leaning on it doing well across seas over in China. Like, you'd be surprised how much of American cinema has changed to appeal to a lot of China's demographics lately.
Oh, sure.
I mean, Transformers is a great example.
Or like the movie with The Rock, where he's got to like get up on that big burning building, and it's in China.
Oh, Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard minus one leg. Rest in peace, that guy's leg.
Die Hard 0.5.
You guys, can I just get something off my chest? I do 3 movie podcasts, and I've never seen Die Hard.
Whoa.
Well, it is December. Christmas is rolling up. So
yeah, that's true. This is the perfect time to watch Die Hard for the first time. Have you seen any of them?
No.
Oh, I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah. Everyone dogs on the second one, but I really like it. I just want to get that out. Everyone dogs on the second one, but the original Die Hard and Alan Rickman in particular, if you got to watch it for one thing, it's Alan Rickman's performance.
The only thing I know about Alan Rickman from Die Hard is his name is Hans Gruber, and that's the name of the doctor in the beginning of Reanimator. So yes, I've seen Reanimator. I've never seen Die Hard.
What's Reanimator?
Reanimator is a horrible. I mean, it's a groundbreaking for the time. It's a like a sci-fi horror movie about. It stars Jeffrey Combs, and he is a kind of a mad scientist, and he figures out the scientific serum how to bring people back from the dead. It has a scene with a disembodied head going down on a young female. From an old creepy professor. So that's kind of the bar that I'm setting here. So
damn, dude,
that sounds intense.
Damn.
I love horrible, scary movies though. Like if I could just watch those and review those, I probably could. But there's just so many other channels out there that do it better and do it before I did. So
man,
you gotta get
on YouTube too.
You got to get to the really bad ones, the ones that they wouldn't even review, and then put your spin on it.
Like Neil Breen films.
Yes.
No, that's part of the problem, though, man. It's like there's the niche that's coming up from the bottom level. So people are like, they're reviewing the really, really bad ones at the bottom, and they're reviewing the really good ones at the top, but the middle.
Ones that everyone skips.
Yeah. The really forgotten, like treasures. That might be your bread and butter. Or
now reviewing Daddy's Home 2.
So, like old forgotten summer blockbusters from like the mid 90s or something like that. Like Speed 2. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen a big YouTuber make a Speed 2 video. There you go.
I think this is a podcast in the making right now.
Yeah. Brainstorming podcast now with Tasty Snackies, McBee, and John.
We're not the worst, but we're not the best. We're just kind of in the middle.
Yeah, like the nougat in your cake. We're kind of tasty, but mostly we're just there for filling.
Finally, I can put my name to good use.
Yeah, there you go.
Call it the nougat or whatever. Something like that.
Movie nougat.
Movie nougat.
Write it down. Oh, man, this is great.
I'm going to write it down right now, actually, in the show notes. And good thing we have it recorded live, too. So.
That's
Shout out to chat, by the way, for any help that they can provide on our naming.
Yeah, if you can improve Movie Nougat, that would be much appreciated.
Maybe
Movie Nougat's
perfect. He's my old Vegas buddy.
What's that?
Young Corpse is in the chat. Dean, he lives in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You've had him on your show before, haven't you?
No, we were supposed to.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought. Well, hello, Dean.
Dean's the shit.
Are we supposed to ask John some questions?
I mean, like, I guess I didn't have any questions set up. I think I sent a message to both you and Dan to set up questions. Oh, by the way, Dan couldn't make it tonight. He wasn't feeling it. In case you couldn't tell already, it's quite obvious that he's not on the show. But yeah, I couldn't come up with any questions myself. I was just going to keep this a casual kind of podcast. But the one thing I did want to ask for certain was every guest that I have on here, or every person I have on here, I always ask where they came from in Magic.
Yeah. First of all, I don't know why we're asking me questions. You're the hot YouTuber and you're the radio star, McBee. Like I'm still sub 100, but
well, here's a good comparison. So I have 2,400 subs, and my podcast will, on a good day, at most hit like 120 to 150 views. And then my last video that I made, which was my last real video, was the last time I checked it was about a week ago, and it was sub 200 views. And then looking at your views and your subscriber rate, you should feel pretty good about yourself because your ratios are infinitely better than mine.
it's only lately though. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I don't want to mitigate anything. Like I'm like super stoked with everything that's been happening lately, and I don't remember being bored, which is a good thing. With all the research and then all the children I have and all that, like it's never a dull moment. So that's cool. But yeah, Magic started when I had a giant whale tail Powell Peralta skateboard, slick.
Oh yeah.
And I just moved from Lancaster, California. If you guys have ever heard of that, that is the armpit. That is the bowels of California. It's disgusting. It's Vegas with nothing else, with nothing to do. So and I hate Vegas. Sorry, Dean, but I had one of those, and I had a buddy, and he's just like, I was 12 years old or something. It was like right when Ice Age came out, and he's just like, I'll trade you my deck master for your deck. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that means, but sure. And so I traded that disgusting skateboard for a big basket or a big bag of Magic cards. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of Portal. And yeah, it was fun. And I put together, I remember my first like competitive deck was a mono black combo deck. It was Nether Shadow and Fallen Angel, and basically it was like Buried Alive too. So you just kind of ramp, because Black used to ramp. For all you young kids out there, Black used to have Dark Ritual and Bubbling Muck, and so you would just kind of power out like turn one Buried Alive, throw 3 Nether Shadows in the graveyard, power out a Fallen Angel as soon as possible, and then just infinitely sack the Nether Shadows of the Fallen Angel and swing for 100 on like turn 2 or 3. That was standard. That was awesome.
Wow, I had no clue that existed.
Oh, it's the shit. And then if you couldn't get the combo off, or if it was disrupted, you had Drain Lives and Corrupts. So you had a control backup plan. The rest were just the rest was removal. It was like Terror and Dark Banishing and stuff like that. And I remember I was like this little 13-year-old. I look like Slim Shady, this little punk ass kid. And I spiked a tournament against, at the time, Vegas had like a good local competitive scene. And they had this little group called the Six Shooters. And they're probably all like in jail now or irrelevant. But they were really good Magic players back then. And I took them all down with my little bullshit Buried Alive deck. And yeah, that was like my favorite Magic tournament of all time. But ever since that,
living the dream, man.
Oh yeah, man, it was awesome. I won a what's that one card called? It's like Jahakalops or something.
Yokel Hops, I think is how it's pronounced.
That's what I want. He let me pick anything in the case. And now, like thinking about it, I think there was power in the case.
Oh no.
Correct.
I bet he was like thinking the same thing. He's like, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. There we go. To be fair, Yokel Hops is a huge effect.
It is a huge. It was an epic card.
Yeah.
Isn't that card worth money nowadays?
Everything.
It's no Power 9 card, but no, it might be worth $1.
So you still made out. You're still up in the positives, just not where you could be.
I'm trying to think, because we were pretty poor. Like, how did I even afford like Nether Shadows back then? I always think about that, but I guess they were just in the bag of trash I got. But yeah, that's my Magic origin story.
Wow.
Damn, that's awesome. I kind of have a pseudo similar. When I took my break for like 4 or 5 years, I got back into Magic. I was seeing people play at the Job Corps that I was at, and they were playing. I was like, oh, I remember playing this game. And there's this guy. He's like, I want your PSP. And I was like, I want all those Magic cards. And it was this big fat box of Alara block and Zendikar block cards. And I was like, okay, I'll take those cards and $100, and you can have my PSP. and we did that, and then that's what got me back into Magic.
Nice. What'd you get in there? Anything good?
I had 2 Nemesis of Reason, and I had a couple Jace. I can't really remember all that much because and I had a Vengevine. I remember that was my big card because I traded that in for a bunch of other mill cards to make my first ever standard deck, which is a really bad mill deck.
Oh God!
Everyone gets them, right?
Oh, everyone.
Wow, that's so crazy. When you were making your first mill deck, I was survival of the fittesting away, freaking Vengevine and getting out root wallas with it and killing people on like turn 4.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what got Survival banned in Legacy?
Yeah, it totally was. Survival was
Degenerate.
dumb.
McBee, you might be old like me, right? So yeah, I remember the deck that I went up against in the finals of that tournament was an Armageddon deck. Remember those?
Whoa. That's early. That's like 95.
Yeah, that was Urnam Jin. Basically, Urnam Jin was the best green creature back in the day. It was a 4 casting cost for a 4/5, but every upkeep it would hurt you. Like during your upkeep you take a damage, but that was good. Like it was like, ooh, who cares? I got a 4/5, and you would get one of those out, and then you would Armageddon, and just have a big creature out, and that was your strategy. But it
gave one of their guys Forest Walk, and you were like, well, he has any lands.
That's right.
No downside.
So bad.
Think about Urnam Jin was like an amazing card, and now Steel Leaf Champion is a card.
Yeah, Urnam Jin's like less than a common at this point. They would print that.
Yeah, that's a card they would like downgrade to uncommon now.
Oh my god!
Popper were probably like, "Come on, Urnam Jin! Come on, Urnam Jin!"
I mean,
considered a mythic back then.
If we could get that, what is it? The 5/5 for 4 mana in red, Balduvian Horde. If we can get that at common, we can get Urnam Jin at common,
right?
Oh god, I forgot about that. Oh my god, that got downshifted to common.
Yeah, didn't people used to pay out the ass for that card?
$25 card. That card was more expensive than Force of Will.
It was chase as hell back in the day.
Like people thought it was bonkers. It was the answer to Juzom Jin or something like that. They must have thought. Like the red didn't get cards like that, so 4 casting cost 5/5 was like world earth shattering.
Remember when we didn't think that Force of Will was good? We're like 5 casting costs to counter a spell? No, thank you.
Yeah.
God, what were we doing back then?
Well, it was probably at the exact same time y'all thought Mana Drain was garbage too.
Yeah, probably
because Mana Burn. It was like, oh, why play that when it's just going to hurt you?
Mana Burn
it was good, but it was like it was power to price because you could like hurt yourself with the Mana Drain. So there was an argument for it being worse than Counterspell in some cases. But then you look back at it now and you're like, oh, the things I could do. If
now that I think about it, it kind of acts more like a blue-black card than if they were to reprint it, it'd be like a blue-black card.
Like blue-black split?
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Oh no, maybe you'd have a black
and it has that Mana Burn clause on it, but just worded differently. You have to spend that mana, otherwise you get burned for it.
Take 1 damage per yeah.
There you go. That's it. Now you got a card.
That one's free, Wizards.
Yeah, we already predicted Chemister's Insight. I have to get that meme rolling somehow. So let's see if that card's been predicted correctly.
Yep.
Which one's Chemister's Insight again?
Well, McBee, you're the one that predicted it. What's Chemister's Insight?
Inspiration with Jump with
That's
Jump
right.
Back or whatever the fuck it's called.
Jump Back, Jump Start.
That's it.
Holler back, boo. Yeah.
How much Standard do you play, McBee?
You know what? It's funny, quite a bit, because I have a bad arena deck that I've been jamming super hard lately.
What have you been playing on Arena? Great segue, by the way.
The Arc-like Phoenix deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then you should know what Chemister's Insight is. What the fuck?
I don't play it. I play all the small cantrips.
Oh, you go like the combo-y route.
And I'm starting to think that like the combo-y route is interesting, but it's not its final form. You know what I mean?
No, I changed it to a more tempo-y shell. I threw in like dive downs and spell pierces to protect it.
Yeah, dive down is a card that I've been wanting to play more and more, like as like a 2-of or something in the red-blue deck. But I also added a Niv Mizzet main deck and a Banefire main deck, and Banefire's so good.
Niv Mizzet is clutch. I play a Izzet control deck. It's one of the main ones that I keep in my arena rotation, and my win cons are Niv Mizzet, Expansion, Explosion, and Fire with Fire. Niv Mizzet is so good. John, do you play much standard?
No, I'm lucky if I play draft or commander at this point, but the standard looks fun, man. I mean, when Ravnica sets are out, that's when Magic's at its best. Because you could put together something janky and be like relevant at an FNM, and that's a ton of fun. Yeah, I mean, and talk about like the mechanics, like they sure did make up for shitty mechanics for Dimir for 2 sets with Surveil is just freaking awesome. And
oh yeah,
I was a little disappointed with how the Pro Tour wound up with all, but that's every Pro Tour, like everything. Every big tournament at the beginning of a format always, when in doubt, go aggro, and that's kind of what happened. But I was just like, because when Return to Ravnica was there with Innistrad and M13, you had all the, the aggro if you wanted it, the control if you wanted it, and the best mid range in Junk Reanimator. So that's what I was thinking we were going to get with Return or with Guilds of Ravnica, but it hasn't really shaped up as much as I hoped it would have.
I would like to beg to differ.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
oh my.
Because, well, that's mostly because of me putting a lot of money into Arena before the account reset. So I was able to use all that money back into getting a bunch of Guilds of Ravnica packs. So I've been able to try out everything. And I've had moderate success with mostly every single type of archetype in this format. Not necessarily combo. The closest to a combo deck would be the Arclight Phoenix deck, but control in particular, you could go like the classic Jeskai route or blue-white, but the one that I've been testing around with and the one that I'm thinking about making a video on, if not for my main channel for Rogue Deck Builder, but I've been doing so well with it that I really want to share it, is Sultai Control. And it plays like a classic green-black mid-range deck, but it plays blue for like Chemist's Insights and counterspells in the sideboard, and it finishes off the game with cards like Murmuring Mystic, which is a 1/5 for 3 and a blue, and whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, makes a 1/1 with flying. It's such a great blocker, and then it also finishes the game off with Carnage Tyrants, a full playset in there. And so the first game is just board wipes and removal spells, and then Mystics and Carnage Tyrants, and they avoid all of the board wipes. And then in the sideboard, it brings in counter spells whenever the creature removal is not relevant. So
you play the 1/5 and Carnage Tyrant in the same deck?
Yeah, they're the win cons.
It's awesome.
Those are like 2 cards that are like diametrically opposed.
Yeah, man, you're going wide and you're going tall, man. Because I'm telling you, it works. They don't know how to sideboard against it. Game 1, you win.
Never see it coming.
No, dude, I have one of the games recorded that I really want to share. Is Game 1. I won with the Murmuring Mystics, and then Game 2, I stalled with the Murmuring Mystics, and then chained a Carnage Tyrant into an Eldest Reborn, ultimating to reborn his Carnage Tyrant, and then I casted another one. So 3 Carnage Tyrants in a row. Just, dude, it's dirty as fuck, man. Control is a thing. And
Where's
then
Murmuring Mystic come in, though?
Murmuring Mystic, it's a great roadblock, dude.
It's very reminiscent to Augur Abolus. Remember from M13, everyone was jamming Augurs in the Esper controls and somewhat the Jeskai controls back then. And I think it was a 2 for a 1/3, and then you got to kind of search or look through the top of your deck or fix the top of your deck. But it was just that kind of that big butt on the ground to stall to get there, because Murmuring Mystic is a 3 CMC.
4.
Okay, so it's a little.
That's actually why I think he's really good, is because he avoids the Soot card.
Sure.
Yeah, he avoids Ritual Soot, which is in the deck. My Wraths are Ritual Soot and Fine Finality, of which both he avoids. But what makes the Mystic really good is I like to compare him to Talrand, because Talrand was so close to being standard playable.
Sure.
As Mystic is the standard playable version of him, because Talrand dies to so much more removal. It died to I think Searing Spear was in that format, so that was a very relevant card that he died to, and Pillar of Flame. Whereas Marine Mystic doesn't die to Lava Coil or Lightning Strike or Shock or even Shivan Fire. It only dies to stuff like Cast Downs and traditional removal. So that's what makes him really playable in this deck. And also, as an added benefit, he's only a single blue, so he's super splashable.
Interesting.
It's a borderline first pick common, right? Like, is it uncommon or common?
It's uncommon.
Okay, but I mean, it's still first pickable because in draft those get, if you do the is it deck or even a Dimir deck to some extent, mostly an is it deck, because if you got burn and some counters in there and you got like 3 mystics in there, you could run away with the game very easily.
Man, it's one of those cards too that like many blue cards, it doesn't say draw a card, but it does reward you for doing something that you're already doing. So,
yeah,
things that reward you for doing what you're already doing are that's a good sign. Especially in a format where there's like the control decks have a lot of spells to sling, like a lot of draw spells, a lot of little shocks and what's the other one, like Lightning Strike, I think is in some of the decks. But more like the black removal and things like that too. But they're all cards that you're already killing the thing, and then you're getting a guy on top of that. That's pretty good. When that card first came out too, I was like, it seems like it's good, but like maybe pulled back a little bit. But now that I've seen it actually interact with things in the format,
it's actually pushed.
Yeah. Like, whoa, it's got a huge ass on the back of it, and it can't be killed by Lava Coil, which is arguably one of the best removal spells in the entire.
And Justice Strike.
And Justice Strike.
Justice Strike is a very real spell in this format. I've noticed. I've gotten blown out by it a couple times.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, but as Pacino would say in Heat, it's got a huge ass. Yeah. Which I said that at LGS, and it was frowned upon.
Really?
Yeah.
No one joined you?
Did you see Twitter. I just got a Twitter notification from Zuby saying, I'm so fucking wasted. OrzhovDunn, I fucking love you, bro. I love Drunk Zuby. Drunk Zuby's the best.
I actually just messaged him not too long ago. I was like, I know you're drunk right now, and I don't know if you're going to remember, but I want you to be on the podcast next week. So we'll see. We'll see if he remembers. But.
Hey, by the way, shout out to Individualism Incarnate in the chat right now. He's doing good things in there.
I'm only running off of one screen, so I'm not able to pay attention to the chat. Good job, Sean. You're improving.
I'm on it. By the way, Individualism Incarnate also says that the Grixis deck that's out there right now is pretty janky, and I have gotten railroaded by that deck quite a few times. Bolas into that what is the enchantment that does stuff every turn? What's that called? The new mechanic?
What? You're gonna have to be a bit more specific. The enchantment.
What are the sagas? Is that what they're called? The sagas?
Yeah, there's a bunch. The black one or the white one?
Yeah, the black one that makes you sack a creature and then.
Oh, Eldest Reborn.
That card has blown me out so many times, dude.
That card's one of the key centerpieces of that Sultai control deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's a win con in of itself because it's removal, win con.
Yeah. That card is very good in the Grixis deck. I've really been roundhouse kicked by that quite a few times.
I didn't play like hardly any Dominaria, but it just sounded like it was pretty cool. But it sounded like the format was warped kind of around those whatever the enchantments, the stories or whatever they're called. What are they called?
They're called sagas.
Sagas, yeah.
Yes.
It was like the whole format was warped around those.
They didn't have any like main like in the set like any Reclamation Sage type effects to deal with those, did they?
M19 did.
Yeah, M19, that's true. But oh fuck, I was gonna ask something. Have you played much Arena at all then? Since you haven't played much Standard, then have you given Arena much of a shot or
have not? I run everything on a Google Chromebook. So I have a toy that I stream off of, and I do all my editing off my cell phone. So that's a little look behind the scenes of my no budget soldier over here. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I have a lot more respect for you after looking at your Commander videos. Now that I know that you edited that with a phone,
That's it.
That's the budget dream right there, dude.
Yo, you are a fucking ninja, my man.
It's the app. It's called Kind Master. That thing is awesome.
Kind Master?
Yeah, KINE Master. I got lucky with when I worked at Caesar's Palace. I had one of the guys that I worked with was part of a really awesome band and called the Wax Fiends. I think they since changed their names, but most of the music on my channel he made specifically for it, and it's just like really good, like My Bloody Valentine style music. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, and you could just use this exclusively. So that there's a lot of lipstick on the pig, so to speak, as far as my videos go. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Isn't that all kind of what YouTube is, though?
Sure. Yeah.
You're just kind of putting on a show.
Yeah, it's like you have a couple of tricks that you can use, and you just like lean on those where you can.
That's it.
Stock footage and some music and a couple After Effects, and you're like, we're off to the races, boys.
Man, if people saw my edited videos unedited, they'd be disenfranchised quite quickly. Or making the meme videos, whenever I explain to people, it's just like, yeah, that 45-second Karn video took me like almost an entire day to make. They're like, what? Yeah, man. Fucking, it's the curse, man. The curse of the edit.
Like, take this or leave it, because I am not a successful YouTuber or anything, but half the battle is just in asking for stuff. And by asking for stuff, I meant like, I have no business with the setup I have, like I just kind of revealed, to have a really cool movie review show with with the best like magic financer, and then get Ben Bateman, who's like doing red carpet interviews at real like Academy Award events and hosting the ESPYs, and also part of Masters of Modern podcast on my show like I did last week. I have no business doing that, but it's just like people are kind of waiting for any kind of exposure, and even if it's on a smaller platform, it's like rolling the dice. It's like a gamble. It's just like, he's like, yeah, any video I do is going to be like thousands of views, but maybe one day this kid will get a lot of views, and that will help my brand eventually. So it's all in like how you ask, how you kind of carry yourself, and just, generally just not being a complete toolbox. I don't know.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah. And
just doing it, man. Just swinging.
In my experience with dealing with people like Rogue Deck Builder or Unsleeved Media, yeah, just asking, it kind of blows my mind, especially since I have a tough time doing it now, because I'm like kind of a nervous person, and I'll talk myself out of it. I'm just like, they don't really care about me or whatever. Just like kind of how early when I was talking to you two about the professor, I was like, he's too good for me. He's not going to care for me. I do that to myself all the time. But like, if you look at videos for like how to grow your YouTube channel or any advice columns or anything like that, like every single one of them, networking.
Absolutely.
Most important thing.
Absolutely.
Just growing in general in the digital age, networking seems to be the key.
My buddy, who is not on my show, like on the channel that much anymore, but I met him through like doing Walking Dead videos. He's a filmmaker, and I just asked him one day, hey, my setup's really shitty. Can you help me out, make a logo for my magic show that I do? And his name's Tony Walters. He has a channel called Rad Entertainment. He made what the Hive Mind like thumbnails look like now. He put the B thing out there, and then he made the word logo. And so literally, like you said, Nick, like all I did was make a dummy one of those thumbnails with the professor on it, and I just tweeted it out, and I said, hey, is this something that you think the kids would want to see? And I added Brian, and not 10 seconds later he responded, yeah, let's do it. So it's
hell yeah, man.
Just do it, right? It's like, it's a confidence thing. Because I think like larger creators have a thing where it's just like, if this guy feels confident enough in himself, in his whatever I've been drinking, in himself and in his own content, then that's probably something that I want to be a part of. And I don't know, like I said, it's not like I'm a guru or anything. I still can't grow my channel really, but it's just like those small successes and those wins have been attributed, I think, just to exuding some confidence. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. I'd say that you're 100% correct entirely. Sorry, I got kind of lost for a second because I had to walk away for a second because my damn cat opened the door and I had to close it. So I caught the very end of your story. But
your cat has posable thumbs?
Yes, actually, it's quite annoying. And he also has a will of his own. Like, I mean, cats already kind of do, but
they're sentient beings.
But he can like communicate to me with those thumbs, and it's just amplified more, and it's just made him more aware. I think the key to succeeding on this planet is to have thumbs.
That's your YouTube channel, Nick. Your cat with posable thumbs.
It should be.
This is what separates us from the beasts.
This is what separates us from savagery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some monkeys use sticks and has crude tools.
You know what monkeys like us do?
Throw poop. Go ahead.
Masturbate?
Exactly. We create controversy. We sling shit around. And we got some stuff going on this week. There's a lot to talk about. First, we'll get to the least depressing because we've already talked about it so much and everyone's already talked about it to death. So we're just gonna gloss over the more positive aspects to Ultimate Masters, which is the supposed last master set in quite some time, which in Wizards terms means they're gonna flip back on that in about a year and a half, and we'll see another master set. So, you know, normal stuff there, but from what it looks like, Masters or Ultimate Masters is essentially what Modern Masters 2017 was, and that was a master set worthy of the name. What's your opinions on it so far now that we have the spoilers?
Yeah, the cards in it are excellent, certainly. Like, there's a lot of really good ones in there, but the price, man, the price is damning.
Let's remove price from it.
I mean, yeah, if I could afford this set, I'd definitely buy a couple boxes. If it was a normal price set, get out of here. But again,
I mean, like, remove price and let's say like buying from a singles perspective. Like, let's just say sealed product for this is off the table completely from a singles and like reprint and just all that.
Okay. Okay. As in, like, not would you go out and get this, but is this set a good cohesive set?
Right. Is this worthy?
Yeah, it's a good set, man. It's just like McBee said, it's just so goddamn expensive and so rare that I don't think any of the reprints are going to do shit, really.
Yeah, I think it was also because a lot of speculation was that they had to panic and put these box toppers in, so that kind of adds to the cost and the very specific numbers that they are for margins and shit like that. But a part of me also thinks that this is kept at such a high level because it's no secret in the Magic community that beyond reserve list cards, reprint equity is becoming kind of an issue lately. Especially when they reprint cards like your Imperial Recruiters, you know, what was in the hundreds has crashed down significantly because they over assumed the availability and demand and etc. So now we've reached this reprint equity crisis almost. So it makes me think that's why this price is so much higher, because if the sealed product is 30% higher, it's going to keep that reprint crash from going down so high. But they made the mistake of putting in cards like Temporal Manipulation. And I can't really think of any others right now, but Temporal Manipulation is one of those cards that is super expensive, but is going to go down significantly because
Liliana?
Well, yeah, she is reaching her third printing, and that's usually the one that breaks the camel's back. So
A Noble Hierarch too is another one that's like, it's a lot of money right now, and now it's printed at rare.
I feel like Hierarch and Karn are kind of what are going to hold this set up. It seems like, and your Goyfs, that kind of stuff, but for the most part, I don't know.
Dude, and it's a small set on top of that. I've said many times on this podcast that the barrier to entry for Magic should be much lower, and to facilitate that, this should have been a set that cost a regular amount of money, a standard amount of money, like you would get a standard amount of Magic cards out of a box. And it should have gone to help bolster the amount of people playing these older formats.
like conspiracy, right?
Yeah, exactly. This should have been a conspiracy set. It should have been something that you actually want to go out and draft and not drop like $40 to go draft or whatever it is, or even more than that, like $50 to draft if you're including some prize money in there too. It's like, come on, guys! Like, stop clawing money away from your people that love you. Like, we're here to purchase your product, not get destroyed by you at the checkout stand, or local game store.
And, you know, there's usually a counter argument, like accessibility means that like you're going to destroy the reprint equity and all this stuff, and it's going to affect the secondary market. And I have a really good counterpoint right here. Actually, I bought this today. Incidentally, I'm bringing it up here in this video. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure deck. Now, what this is, it's a 40-card deck ready to play. And most of the time when these new structure decks come out, they'll usually have a reprint of like 1 or 2 cards that are somewhat valuable or somewhat played in a major event. And for $10 you get this, and usually they come with brand new cards that are moderately powerful for the format. So ideally you can buy 3 of these and then have a somewhat competent tournament deck with reprints on it, and it's not fucking destroying the secondary market at all. And people are just like, oh, Konami, they just reprint everything to oblivion. But it's just like, no, you can do this. You can reprint cards and still maintain value of the older cards. Like Alpha Investments brings up in his videos all the time, saying reserve lists could be abolished tomorrow and they could reprint Black Lotus at common, and the original Black Lotuses are still going to maintain the price that they still have, if not minus maybe like 5-10%. But these cards hold premiums for a reason. And when stuff is reprinted, like what's a good example? Privilege Position from this Selesnya Guild kit. Those are significantly lower in price, but the privileged positions from Ravnica or wherever it originally came from still holds its moderately high price. So I think it's just all a matter of Wizards of the Coast just like playing with the strings and just trying to push players to the limits. That's kind of what this product seems like. It's like, how far can we push this lever to where players just back off entirely? Do we make a $400 product? Is that the next step?
Oh no, it should be about how many revolutions they can sell. You know, how many cycles can they go through of selling these things? Because right now they're looking at it like, okay, somebody's going to come in and buy a box, and we want to get $180 for that box. Wouldn't you rather sell 2 boxes for $100 a piece? You know what I'm saying? Like, have somebody come in and buy a couple boxes because they can afford to do it.
Well, like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's the spot you want to be at.
Yeah, that makes sense for like the more enfranchised players like us. But I was thinking, I was like, this also kind of screams like they're aiming towards those newer players, because Wizards hasn't made it a secret in a very long time that they don't really care about the older players. They just want to keep raking in the newer players and take as much money as they can out of them. And they keep talking about like how players usually have a 2-year rotation. So if you notice, every like year to 2 years, we see an egregiously greedy thing happen. It seems like it's happened a lot more often recently, but like this master set, when Iconic Masters came out and it burned a lot of the newer players out of the game, the newer players after them come in. They don't really know much about Iconic Masters or Masters 25, but they see this $300 box and they're like, oh my God, it's got all this modern stuff into it. And modern looks like a sweet format. I need my Karns and Tarmogoyfs. I'm going to pay a damn fucking Nintendo Switch price for a box of lottery packs.
God, that's so awful to think that the amount of enjoyment that you get out of cracking a box versus the amount of enjoyment that you get out of a Nintendo Switch are comparable.
It's a great argument that people have been bringing up when bringing up the prices of this. It's just like, it's a great point, actually.
It's so dirty. God, when you put it next to each other like that sounds.
Would you rather buy for $360 a Nintendo Switch with Smash Brothers Ultimate that comes out the exact same day as Ultimate Masters, and it's $20 less?
It comes out the same day?
It comes out the same day. The corporate greed and manipulation has no end, dude. We're going to release a product named Ultimate the exact same day as Smash Brothers Ultimate. Going to correlate those Google clicks. At least that's what the conspiracy theorist in me predicts.
I don't know, dude. I think you.
It's too coincidental. I'm sorry. It's just too coincidental.
Yeah, but put people to a test. Like, talk to your average nerd at the local game shop, and you're like, "Hey, man, I got an offer for you. You got a new Nintendo Switch? I'll trade you this box of Magic cards for it." You think anybody's going to do that when holiday time comes around? Somebody's got a new Nintendo Switch in the box, and they're going to trade it for a box of Magic cards. Do you think that happens?
To some people, probably. Unfortunately,
I think it's like a 80-20 split.
Hey,
keep the Nintendo Switch on that one.
I'm pretty sure earlier in the podcast I did mention I traded away a PSP for a box of Magic cards.
Right, but that was not new hotness at the time.
No.
And the Nintendo Switch is absolutely new hotness.
My position on this
cash.
My position on this whole thing has not changed. I feel like this is just another step into the like I said, at this point it's not even WotC anymore. It's Hasbro, and this was a decision made by dudes in ties and smoky Cincinnati boardrooms talking about how they're going to gouge the kid. This is just like, think about it. Think about the escalation. This is not the first thing. This is the aggregate of what they're easing us into. This was just the pounding. Let's talk about the lube. The lube was the ultimate Ravnica stupid shits.
Ravnica Masters.
Ravnica Masters, and we're only going to sell it from the toy shop. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't care about, you have blinders on when it comes to secondary market, my ass.
What is Ravnica Masters?
They are they were the first iteration of ultimate box toppers, basically.
For planeswalkers.
Yeah, it's planeswalkers that have snappy art that a bunch of rich people will buy, and unfortunately they're going to see that as a they're going to sell because someone's always going to buy it, because Magic is a collectible card game, and that's fine. If you have the dough and you want to buy this stupid product, that's cool. That's on you, but it's going to ruin it for everyone else, because even Rosewater went on Twitter and said, we're not going to do something like that again unless people buy it. And guess what? They were all bought. So people bought it. After that, we got the you had a problem ordering your box. Well, here we're going to send you this ultimate box topper burger bullshit. And it's just like, and then that set the internet on fire. And I was so surprised that those weren't sold on the toy shop too. But that was their segue into doing this set. That it's like, yeah, like I said to Nick, it's a good set, but it's printing dollars, but it's such a low print run. It's so expensive that it's not really going to move and shake the prices of singles. This was Hasbro figuring out that no one wanted, that masterpieces were a failure to the general audience, but masterpieces were a hit to a certain audience, a niche audience. And so this is just them charging us more for masterpieces now. Instead of buying a normal box of Amonkhet or Return to Zendikar or Battle for Zendikar or whatever, and maybe winning the lottery and getting that, being Charlie Bucket for a day and getting the golden ticket in your fucking Wonka bar, you're getting you're now having to shell out the dough for this stupid thing in this stupid set.
Do you think they thought, if these people are willing to spend $300-$400 on booster boxes just to see if they can get a masterpiece, do you think they'd spend that much on a booster box if they knew they were getting a masterpiece? Maybe that was their line of thinking. Or maybe the back of my mind, maybe a naive part of me wants to assume, because you brought up the masterpieces prior, and a certain thought just came in my head. Maybe they thought this would be a way to curb people from mass box opening, to flood the secondary market, because that was like an issue with the masterpieces, was it crashed the value of the rares and mythics in the set because everyone was going for the masterpieces. But this is like a super greedy way to counteract that. It's just be like, well, then we're gonna tap into the master sets with this. And
it's a tone deaf answer to a bullshit statement. It's people were upset that everyone that bought a box of Battle for Zendikar secretly expected to pull a masterpiece or once you got to Kaladesh, or then Amonkhet. Not really Amonkhet because those look terrible, but everyone you bought a box and you were just kind of like, oh, of course, I spent my hard-earned money. I'm gonna be the guy, just like I just came from Vegas. I'm gonna be the guy that puts in $20 and gets 500 back. So it was just a feel bad every time that people would buy boxes of those sets with masterpieces or even cases and then wouldn't pull one.
No kidding.
That was a problem. People were outraged. So now they're just like, here's this super premium set. You're guaranteed one of these things, but yeah, I'm not guaranteed a Liliana. I might pull a Maelstrom Pulse, and then or a Raging Ravine. Can you imagine that? Like, you spend all that money pulling a Raging Ravine? Yeah, I mean, the Tassiger looks pretty fucking sick, but everything else is just like
just garbage.
It's just garbage. And then what do? You're like, I spent all this money on the super premium thing. I was guaranteed this super premium thing, and I got bullshit. It sucks.
Imagine opening the inevitable box that has the shitty masterpiece and the shitty packs.
Well, that's going to happen all the time. People are there's always going to be that dude that walks away from the card shop going, man, I got the Raging Ravine and I didn't get a Liliana or a Snapcaster or a Caracas or a Temporal Mat or a Temporal
I hate that. I hate that every time they have a masterpiece, they do that. They put a lottery in the masterpiece system. Like, this is how you can tell that Wizards of the Coast is such a greedy corporation, because everything about them is always about this lottery and that hunt to buy, because you don't know what you're going to get. And you may get this bad one. Oh, maybe that will want you to buy another of our super expensive product and get a good one. And it's just like, well, fuck you guys. Like
I said, I don't even think it's WotC at this point. I think that this just
it's
smells
more of a Hasbro.
It's just Hasbro all over it, because they put in these giant lottery pieces, but they always put in the whammies too, and the whammies are so stinky in this set.
I don't know why they must think that it's fun or funny or something.
Yeah.
like they're like, okay, you guys check this out, we're putting in Tassiger into the set. You can get a fucking Balefire Dragon or something as your big Texas card, or all the Amonkhet ones. God, the Amonkhet ones are so ugly.
And I hope the proxy guys getting royalties, because it just looks like they've ripped off like the proxy guys stuff.
I think that's the worst part about the masterpieces, is they look like there was no effort put into them. You could just tell that it was like a last minute product. It's just like stretch the art over the sides of the card.
They just erased the border. Yeah.
But not all around the sides of the cards. Just where the art would
to work on the masterpieces this weekend. We'll make him stay extra.
Yeah, I was not. I'm still just as and and I hear it from the finance guys and even some of the art guys, and they're just like, there's super premium products. I play blah 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 Stratocaster guitar, Fender guitar from 1950, and Elvis farted on it, so I paid extra for it. And it's like, that's what this is. And even WotC's little show, Blake Rasmussen says this product's not for everyone. Well, fuck you, not you in particular. I don't know, Blake. Just fuck the message is what I'm saying. Stop making stuff that's not for me. Stop making stuff that's not for this person and this person. Just make your game accessible for everyone. You think Monopoly's doing this shit? It's like, come on.
Yeah, I really don't like the this product is not for you argument, because that is only like a thing in very specific cultures and industries. Like you were saying earlier with the guitar thing, I know exactly what you're referring to, and I agree 100%. Like that's, yeah, I get it. This random Gibson that was on a very limited print run and is a very unique thing is worth this money because of these reasons. These are pieces of cardboard that was printed by a corporation that are trying to pull at our heartstrings and trying to see how much money they can get out of us. There is a considerable difference between the two. One is actual, has actual clout to it. The other one is just a corporation seeing how far they can push you. And I really don't like that defense. The product is not just for you. No, that's horseshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you said earlier, like Black Lotus and stuff like that, those original pieces being collector's items, I get that. Todd McFarlane owns all of the $1 million record-breaking baseballs from Tommy Sosa or whatever. The ones that broke the records, they're all worth like $10 million. That's special stuff that just gets printed out on the same printer as the not so special stuff, just because it looks like it has tinfoil on it. That's dumb. And the fact that we're buying into that kind of is dumb.
Yeah, I think it's pretty sad, man. Why can't they send that shit out as a player bonus or something?
Sure, absolutely.
You play in a certain number of tournaments every X amount of time, then you get a reward pack with like modern cards that you can play with.
Do they even do judge promos anymore?
Yeah, I think they do judge promos, but the player rewards thing was one of my favorite things that they've ever done.
Right.
And you got textless cryptic command out of it. You got, cool foils, stuff that was playable at the time. And again, I've talked about this, I think, on the podcast before, but that was a system that was like, man, it was so good. And it got people interacting at your local game store, playing more often, like wanting to make a deck. And if you go to tournaments and you encourage people to go to tournaments and play, then you're effectively you're incentivizing them to do better and to just get hooked more on the game through the sheer fun of it, not just because it's a lottery. I think they lean a little too much on the Las Vegas part of it and not enough on the
everyone
part of it,
everyone tends to get hooked in harder if they get a free hit, right?
But I'm saying it's accessibility, man. Accessibility to the game is the thing that they are just denying right now.
Well, and I get doing exclusives, like I think the Ravnica Weekend basic lands, the foil lands that they were giving out. But guess what? You got those if you went to your LGS. Game day promos, F&M promos. That's the type of exclusive thing you want to do because it's promoting people playing your game, people going and interacting and actually playing the game of Magic. Even the San Diego Comic-Con Planeswalkers, that's cool because Comic-Con, that's what Comic-Con is. You go there to get stuff that you could only get at Comic-Con. And if Magic wanted to do a set like that, that's understandable as well. It's the stuff that they're trying to pander but not pander to the general public is the shit that I have a problem with.
Yeah, and you look at Standard or something like that, and you're at a point right now when a deck of like a tier 1 deck costs like somewhere between $250 and like $500. Low end, even like a Golgari mid-range or something, you're talking about somewhere in the middle. Like that's not a huge investment. It's just the entrance point needs to be lower, man, just a little bit lower, not in Standard, but in all the other formats, I think. And when you're talking about something that's exclusively for those older formats, you've got to start bringing down the price point on those kind of decks, or you're choking the format. You're choking that kind of Magic out completely.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to say, Nick, I'm sorry, on this is I don't like the fact that this is where because for newer players or even in franchise players, the reprints, like you guys were saying, have been going down so much. And they even went to the point where they were getting rid of what's the M series? What the hell is that called? The core sets. Core sets. Yeah. They were getting rid of core sets, and that was supposed to be where you're getting your reprints from. And then you're moving that to exclusive master sets. That's what you have to wait to get your reprints from. They were even trying to do that with Conspiracy to some extent, but I don't even think we're going to get a new Conspiracy. So I don't like the fact that they're just like, if you want your reprints, you're going to have to buy our Mercedes instead of our Toyota Tercel. Yeah, it's just not fair. And I'm glad that they brought back the core set, but it just sucked that it had to get to a point where they took it away for a little bit to try to test the waters with these other expansions, these like niche expansions that no one wanted.
And like another consequence from them pricing out players that I don't know if they anticipate or maybe they do is that when I've dabbled in buying counterfeit cards before, and when I see things like this happen, I I just know that there's other players that see this kind of move and they're like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna buy counterfeit cards and just bite the bullet on it because it's not worth it financially to do that. And if you as a company are pushing people towards doing that and you're not incentivizing them to buy more into your game, you're just asking them to pay higher. I don't know, man.
Yep. Yeah.
You know who can't afford boxes like this?
Who?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
This is the Joseph Gordon-Levitt set.
Tying it back around, baby.
It should just have his face on the icon, right?
He's gonna get all the masters, all the cool foil cards.
He could be like Magic Santa, and he could just buy a bunch of Ultimate Master sets and then hand them out to kids.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, help out your local game store. I'm not saying you should go doing this across the country or some crazy fucking crusade like that, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if you ever see this message, just bless your local game store with a bunch of boxes of the Ultimate Masters. Let them all be on your level for just a little while. Live in that paradise and just revel in it as they play lots of Magic with you.
Just wait till the next pre-release and then go to it, and every kid that looks under the age of 18 just walk over to them. Boop, there you go. There's a box.
Yep. Boom. There you go, kid. Hey, you know what? One time I won a huge sweepstakes from Wizards of the Coast for doing the consumer research stuff. I got 10 boxes in the mail. They showed up.
Oh, shit.
I shit you not, dude. 10 boxes. A lot of it wasn't good. It was like Prophecy, and then the stuff after Mercadian Masks.
They were spring cleaning. They're like, send this shit out.
Well, it was like a sweepstakes it was like a grand prize for all the people that did this online like email research thing for Wizards of the Coast about like, you know, how often do you play, how many hours do you play, all that sort of stuff. And it just showed up right around Christmas time, and it was the most insane thing that's ever happened in MTG in my life, at least. Besides, like, you know, my own accomplishments, but that just random. Hey, here's 6 or 7 or 8 boxes of cards. I think it was 9 boxes.
I kind of had a similar story like that, not like as romantic as yours, where you just get a bunch of free shit from Wizards of the Coast. But when I first got into Magic, there was this kid that lived adjacent to the neighborhood that I lived in, and in our small town that I lived in good old Smithville, Missouri. Population to this day, I think, is like around 8,000 or something like that. So not that big. But he noticed that I was playing Magic, and he's like, I guess he was leaving. He was going to the army or something. He's like, I have no use for these cards. And he just handed me like a 3-row just full of Urzas and just old shit and like legends. And like when I think about it, it was super valuable lot, but when I was a kid back then, I didn't think any of that had any value to it, so I just, you know, threw it all away. Or I didn't throw it away, I gave it away to other people. I remember that. So who knows, maybe someone got like a Caracas, or not a Caracas, but like, I don't know, a good reserve list card.
You're writing like Raging Goblin on your Tolarian community. Like, fuck this card, I need a Raging Goblin. Yeah, I was doing that. I was selling my collection. I've sold my collection 3 times now, and the first time I did was to pay off a ticket so I didn't go to jail. So I think that's kind of
that's worth it.
It's worth it, right? And I was going through like my slush of just garbage. It was the original like sack of Magic cards I got for that skateboard deck, and I was going through it, and I had one of those Tolarian Academies in there. And I almost like tossed it because I thought I mistook it for a island. And the guy that I was selling it to, there was another gentleman in the store. He's just like, wait.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what? It's just an island. And then he's just like, yeah, it is. And I look at him like, oh, whoops. Is this worth something?
It's Super Island.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, man, I had like 5 Sliver Queens. I can't think about that collection or I'll start crying. It's just so tragic. But your boy didn't go to jail, so yeah.
At least you didn't trade a $30 card that you knew was $30 for a card that you knew was $5. You downgraded from a foil angel to a regular angel.
Sure. No, did you hear Benny Smith's story? I almost cried on. Yeah. He lost his Mox Pearl and Ante, but he got the person that he lost it to traded a Sarah Angel for it, so he was happy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
no.
He's like, I don't want this card. It dies the Shatter Storm or Shatter or something. So he's like, I just want the Sarah Angel.
Yeah, he in that same interview you guys were doing, he was talking about how somebody came in and scooped up his whole playgroup's like load of power. I was like, a load of power. So like, think about that. There were probably playgroups out there, people who had access to the cards as like quasi adults who had even a little bit of money to drop on Magic that had full sets of stuff. Like,
yep.
My teacher in high school had full sets of
power
that he had in like multiple decks. And I look back at that now and I'm like, yo, you could be paying off your house right now, my man.
They probably are.
I wish he sold them like before the very first big boom, like when power went from like hundreds to the 1,000 mark. Like that was I feel that was it's rough to think about.
Yeah, these bastards brought this stuff to school too. I remember my math teacher did too. He had a entire like mono blue.
Lucky fuckers.
Yeah, he had he had like a playset of time walks. He had lotuses in there. He had all the Moxen and Time Twister. And I was just like, he was just like playing with the kids. He's just like, hey, you guys like Magic? And like stupid like 13-year-olds are snotting on these cards. And I'm just like, now thinking about that, I'm like, oh my god.
Dude, I'll tell you what. You guys want to live some of Magic's past, like from the point of view of like seeing pro players play back in like 1998, 99, YouTube, the Road to 1998 Worlds MTG, and you will watch an hour of excellence of old Magic and 90s like style and 90s style ESPN videos.
Yes.
It's literally some of the coolest Magic footage you'll ever see because it's so over the top, so 90s, and the cards that they're playing unsleeved exclusively, all of them. You're like, wow.
Yeah, man, because glare was an issue back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, Magic used to be on ESPN, and that was when Rosewater was like in the booth calling the games, right?
Yeah, like Randy Buehler just stepped into the booth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's playing a Black Lotus. Yeah.
Like in part of the video, you see somebody with like 4 FBB plateaus in play, like way back in the day, and like everybody has like these old lands, like arena lands and stuff in their deck, and it's like styling, man. Old Magic was very styling.
People cared back then.
It was pretty sweet when, I mean, even pre-foil, because like nobody could play foils in their decks because they all were thick and like, and they would curl, and you couldn't play with that unsleeved. So,
man, late 90s Magic was fucking crazy, dude. I've been thinking about making videos on late 90s Magic productions, not that one that you brought up, but the other ones like, have you seen the late 90s Magic ads? Where it's like a trained org and like a Visage Rigs and stuff.
Yeah, ran them on the WWE, baby.
Yeah, dude.
USA Networks player.
There's also another one. I think it's for Portal, maybe, but there's like a video that I think it came like with a VHS or something, but I think I might have sent you the link, McBee. I'll have to send it to you, John. But it's a beginner's player's guide, and it's like 2 players playing against each other in like a lab, and it's like super high production, like over the top, really hammy late 90s production with like a scientist that's running experiments and teaching them how to play the game and shit.
Oh yeah,
it's like super zany and comedic. It's great, dude.
Yep. Did you see the what was it, the set video for Ice Age, and it had the guy playing Limb Duel?
Oh my god!
What? No.
Oh, that's a classic video, dude. It's so bad. Like Wizards was really swinging for the fence back in the day. God bless them. There
was no cards or anything featured. It was just like a guy in horrible makeup, looked like a cracked out Bela Lugosi, and he's just like, "I'll cast my whatever ice manipulator," and it's like, what are we even watching here?
Oh my god! They didn't want to show the cards. They're like, no, that's gonna drive people away. Just cool sorcerers and shit.
Yeah, high fantasy at its worst.
Oh, it was low bar fantasy. Hey, that's that middle thing. That's part of the nougat, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
That's so true. Way to bring it back around. Nice job.
Oh, absolutely perfect, John.
We're having too much
fun at this podcast shit, dude.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. So, I'm going to go over our last subject here. I don't know how much time we're going to put into it, but I wanted to definitely talk about it. There's a strike going on, not just with a pro like Jerry Thompson happened a couple weeks ago, but there was an artist strike that Mike Linneman had written in an article. What site was it on? You'll know more about this than I do.
Cool Stuff Inc.
He wrote it at coolstuffinc.com. And essentially it was artists saying that the commodities and the incentives that they have for going to events is not nearly enough, and that they're going to step aside from attending MagicFest starting in 2019. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Stop attending MagicFest from 2019 until amenities have been improved, and they're inviting other artists and other people to sign onto this as well. And before we talk about other developments, what's your guys' opinions on this?
Hey man, if they feel they're being disenfranchised, then yeah, stick it to people.
I find it
paid what you're worth.
I find it very interesting, the cascading. First with Jerry Thompson, and now the artist. Makes me wonder, is this going to continue?
You know where I saw it? It was on the Ristic Study guy's YouTube channel. It's in like the top comment pinned to the top.
Yep.
He's talking about it on Ristic Study. His most recent Ravnica one was really cool. And I feel like if they feel they're being disenfranchised collectively, then I think they have a right to get together and be like, yo, we're not gonna do this anymore, and you're gonna have that much less attendance at your events already dying. But they may need to make sure that they like preserve a little bit of their livelihood, because this is kind of the nuclear option if they really drive down attendance so far that they just don't even have a place to go at all. You know, no one to sign the paycheck at all it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, it's just it seems, and we just talked about this a lot on our show, but it just seems completely tone deaf. It seems like a disconnect between WotC and Channel Fireball, because WotC is trying to rebrand the Grand Prix as being a Magic tournament, a grinding tournament that pro players are at. You think GP, the name GP, it's just like the best of the best go there and they play and they earn pro points and pro tour invites and all that stuff. That's where you go to do that, but they want to rebrand that into MagicFest. And so MagicFest, they're paying their cosplayers appearance fees. They're not playing, and this is kind of what Zuby said a couple episodes of my show ago, is that he used to be invited to Spell Sling at Channel Fireball, and they pay him in cards, but they were still paying him. Magic is a currency, especially to people like us, where they are not doing that anymore, where they are just paying cosplayers for now, and they're, so the artists now being treated like vendors, where they have to go in and pay their own way, kind of pay their own booths like the other vendors do. It just seems like a huge disconnect of the direction of how WotC wants to take these events, because these events are like cons. They want to treat them like Comic Cons, like GP Vegas. They want to make GP Vegas at every single one, because it's just such a huge event. It's something for everyone. You could walk in, you could spectate, you could meet your favorite content creators, you could take pictures with your favorite cosplayers, you could get your art signed. Like I was just talking to Warlord Hank, and that was one of the biggest draws of going to GP Milwaukee, was to meet the Mark Tadines and get your card signed by these legendary people. I was at GP Vegas 2016. I got to meet Anson Maddox. What the fuck is Anson Maddox doing these days? He's not doing anything. He's definitely not doing magic art, but I got to get my Altar of Dementia or whatever it is, or Ashnod's Altar, signed by Anson Maddox. That's cool. That's the place where you go to kind of meet these people still. And just the fact that, if they're going to dick these folks over, the tournament's just going to be the tournament again. And what's the point of rebranding and make it this big festival if all you are going to be left with is a tournament?
Especially so with their Channel Fireball's official response on Reddit, because there was a Reddit post talking about it, and Channel Fireball responded with essentially, These are amenities, and this is what we offer. And thanks for reading. Have a good day.
Dropping by.
Just like a really polite fuck you.
Yeah. It wasn't even like polite. It was like, and we never said that. It was something that they denied too, or something, right? It's just like because the article by Mike Linneman stated something, and Channel Fireball was like, "Well, that's not true. We don't do that," and that's like what they focused most of the article or the response on. It just seems super gross.
I'm speechless. Still, it's been a few days since it actually happened, and I still just can't understand or fathom the response. The response itself is the really interesting part because, yeah, more strikes happening. That kind of seemed like it was an inevitable thing, anyways, considering how public knowledge it's been that artists get effectively treated like garbage. Kind of like everyone that's professionally associated with Magic the Gathering. But artists in particular, because it's just so costly for them. And I thought that this was going to happen sooner, but the fact that it happened now and with the response that it did, I don't know. Maybe it might have happened differently if Channel Fireball were not partnered with Wizards of the Coast. Maybe Wizards of the Coast would have been like, oh shit, and tried to cater to their demands much more. But I'm surprised Channel Fireball didn't even say anything like, we're going to work to improve our relationship with artists and try to provide better amenities in the future. It was just, like you mentioned, tone deaf. Their response was in turn tone deaf. And I don't understand if like maybe they're trying to weed out the people who aren't committed enough to the company. They're like, yeah, okay, fuck off. If you don't want to be with us and you want to strike, we'll wait you out. We have more money than you do. Or maybe it's a matter of they didn't know how to respond and they needed to respond as soon as possible. So they decided to respond in the worst way possible. I don't know.
Pen something immediately. That sounds dicky. Put it out.
Yeah, they're literally twirling the mustache while doing it. It's like
tying someone to the train tracks.
I'll ask you guys. I mean, do you guys go to a lot of GPs or these SCG events or a lot of these big kind of Magic events?
Every opportunity I get, I attend.
Okay, so
local. I never travel for them.
I'll ask you guys this then. Would you? Okay, so there's two scenarios. One of them is they raise the price per attendee. $5, $10 for the people that are actually playing the event, and the spectators don't have to carry any of that additional cost, even though it's probably the spectators are the ones that are going to get the card signed and interact with the artist. Or scenario B, they charge a cover. They charge a $5 cover for spectators, $10 cover for spectators. Would you be okay with either of those scenarios? And if you are, which one would you be okay with?
Depends on the context. If I'm playing in the event, it depends on how much money it's going to cost entirely, because I would assume that Wizards or Channel Fireball would not have it be so cheap. I think that the starting price would probably be in the $15 to $20 range, would be my assumption. But then again, I'm super cynical, and you might be right. It might be closer to the $5, $10 range. That sounds a lot more reasonable. But I wouldn't also leave it off the table that $70 entry fee isn't going to go away anytime soon. That's going to stay there. That's there to, quote unquote, help cover the cost of the play mats and all the other port shit that you get. And it goes in towards the drawing or the prizes, even though the prizes are garbage to begin with. So I don't know. They need to charge a cover charge for the general admission. I just say anyone that steps foot in that building that's not associated with Channel Fireball or Wizards in a professional sense needs to pay a cover charge. And I feel like it should have been that way for a very long time, because you're right. It is very much like a convention, except you don't have to pay anything for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every time that I've gone to a big tournament like that, it has been to go there and sell cards. So I would be fine with paying $5 to randomly, go in and cash out a bunch of cards for, if I'm going in, it's probably going to be a couple $100 that I'm turning cards into. So, it's just a little bit off the top. Sure. You already kind of pay for parking though, which is, man, it feels so bad when you have to shell out like $15 for parking or $10 for parking at the Rose Garden and then throw them another $5 on top of that. Ugh.
Sure. I think I would definitely go with the cover charge for the general admission. And I don't even think I said that on the show. But yeah, I think that's fair. Like that's what, think about how much it costs to get in the door of PAX, Gen Con, Comic-Con, all these giant conventions just to get in the door. You're shelling out a shit ton. So if you just charge a $10 cover charge, I think that is more than fair. And then Channel Fireball still makes out like a bandit because it's not going to say I don't know what the attendance numbers are, but they're probably in the thousands, I'm sure, maybe even in the 10,000s. Think about that, $10 times that amount. That's the cost to fly these artists out and give them a lunch and then some. Like it's just kind of crazy how this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, dude. Like trade show events at convention centers. Like there was one just recently here in Portland, the Retro Game Expo, $70 to get in, just so you can get your slamming deals on video games.
No.
Damn.
Yeah, and that room was packed full of people. So if people are willing to spend $70 just to get inside,
but on the other side of the coin, Nick, make it fucking badass, right?
Yeah, make it worth the money.
Make it worth the money. I mean, I want Mark Tadine coherent, not. I want him amped up. Like he needs to be. They need to be comping him a lot of energy drinks because he's a sleepy old elderly gentleman at this point. But no, I mean, you got to make it an extravaganza. Then, if you're gonna, you got to take some of that money that all this free money you're printing and turn it into some value then for the spectators. If you're charging someone $25 to get in the door, $20 to get in the door, because like you said, it is Channel Fireball and it's not going to be a $5 door charge. Put some value into it, man. Like make a magic experience, make an actual Magic Fest.
Yo,
charge me $30 and give me a playmat.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Shout out to the people, by the way, who have been out to a large tournament like that and have had a drunk artist sign their card. Like when the signature's starting to look a little sloppy at the end of the day, you're like, I don't think it's RK Post. Like RK Post is a straight shooter, but possibly Anson Maddox though. I feel like
he seemed a little sleepy. Yeah.
Yeah, more like you've been hitting it, man. You've been out there drinking a little bit at the.
I'm not even trying to plug my own shit, but it's like I did when I went to that GP Vegas. I did do an interview with him on camera, so you could go back and watch it. It's under the Hive Mind playlist too. But yeah, he's just sitting there and just kind of looking at me in like a creepy way, just like. And I told him, I said, "Hey, so are you having a good time? This is a big event. Like this is the first time we have the Magic art show here and stuff." He's like, I can't really see anything from where I'm sitting. And I'm just like, ugh, you're like a burnt lizard, man. Like, someone get this guy some water. Like, it was creepy.
That sounds like something that you'd
drew
see
some
in
of
like
my favorite art.
It's like something you'd hear in a cartoon or something making fun of old people. It's like, so how's your day? I can't see.
Yeah. It would be better if you'd move. I'm just like, oh, God. Christ. Yeah.
You know what? And he's lived a long and wonderful lizardy life, and he probably doesn't give a fuck about what any of us are saying on the internet. So.
And guess what I got signed? Reanimate.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Wow, full circle again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know. This Magic Fest, whatever the fuck it's going to be, it better be great. Like if they're going to go the full mile and rebrand and try to invest in this rebrand, I want to see arena kiosks.
I want to see them bring Christopher Rush back from the dead.
I want to see them throw as much money as at Christina Sprinkle and other like high tier cosplayers and come in and like liven up the thing. Like if
fire dancers.
If they're going to nut up, they need to do it.
Yeah. It has to have production value to it. Like you said, like that would be perfect. An arena kiosk. Absolutely. And everyone would be kind of like sitting there mixing their ass juice on it and probably not leaving, but maybe some kind of time limit or something would be cool. But there's just so many things, or even like a free sandwich, a coffee, something that would give you some kind of reason to be like, okay, I'm glad that I paid to be here.
Mm-hmm. Like back in the day at Magic tournaments at the conference center, and when they had them like not quite in the convention center, you would get like the gigantic carafe of water.
Yeah.
It was filled with ice, and everybody would at least get some free water. And now you go to a Magic tournament, it's like, hey, you can hit up one of the drinking fountains that may or may not be close, or you can buy a fucking $4 water. Good luck.
Yep. And a $7 pretzel.
Yeah, GLHFDD. Good luck, have fun, don't die.
Thanks for the money, dude.
Yep. Peace out. You waived our legal responsibility, player.
Dude, the first day of GP Vegas, they in the main hall, they had all the doors open. This is in Las Vegas in June or July or whatever it was. They had the fucking doors open where it was so hot.
Oh my God.
In that convention area that the cards were sweating. I'm just like, I pulled aside, I think it was Mashi Scanlon. I'm just like, what's going on? Like, people are gonna die. And he's like, oh well, it's the main event's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm like, there is like 500 people in here today, and you are responsible for their lives. Like, what are you guys doing? Yeah, it was intense.
Oh my God. Maybe benefit of doubt. Maybe something fucked up in the convention's end, and AC just. Why would you leave the doors open?
I have no clue. No clue. People were dying. They were building this like sculpture. I think it was right around the time that Amonkhet was going to get spoiled, and so I think they built this like pyramid, and then they were going to like break it open, and there was going to be like the Scarab God card or something to spoil. And I just remember the sand just like not sticking well because it was so like disgusting in there, and it was like drying out. God. Yeah, it was. Oh man, it was nuts. It was absolutely crazy.
Jesus, that's just kind of like. Here's the thing, like Channel Fireball. I have a huge issue with Channel Fireball and their relationship with Wizards of the Coast. I've always had an issue with it ever since they made it public of their partnership. I was like, oh man, conflict of interest, insider trading. That's fucking cool. But now we just have utter incompetence magnified by 100%. It's just two companies that are just tripping over each other and not communicating properly. It seems like
somebody's never going to get sponsored.
Dude, I've said retarded on this show before.
And you said it again.
I just realized the flag in the background. I'm losing my two sponsors. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, sorry. My bad. I'm a bad apple. What can I say? But no, my channel's never been modeled, McBee. What are you talking about? Literally, my most popular video on this channel is me boycotting Wizards of the Coast. And look at me. If I had my arch enemy Nicol Bolas that I bought 2 days ago, I'd show it to you. But
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Just saying, look out for your future.
Looking out for my future, huh? My professional relationship with Wizards of the Coast, so that way they can provide me the same great amenities that they give their artists.
And they provided me with 9 boxes earlier in my life.
Of Fallen Empires.
Definitely Prophecy. Definitely around Masks block.
All the Thalids.
Yeah.
Right, nowadays, they'd send a kid like 9 boxes, but it's like 9 boxes of those free intro decks that LGSs give to those new players.
Just the same one over and over and over again. They just send them land stations. Here you go, kid. It's good to own land.
I got the Jace deck. I got the Jace deck. Yeah. Ugh. Where's the Jace? I don't know. Yeah.
Side note, now that I think about it, because I've had that conversation with people before, and they see the character on those decks, and they're like, where's the Planeswalker? There used to be a Duels of the Planeswalkers deck for one of the 5 Alara Planeswalkers, and this was to coincide with the Duels of the Planeswalkers PC release. And they advertised as like, this is the Jace deck, this is the Chandra deck. And I was so ass hurt when there was none of the Planeswalkers in any of the decks. I bought the Jace one, like anticipating to open up a Jace. No Jace.
No Jace. There was a Nisa in something. I remember it was the M symbol. It's actually the same symbol I used for 10th Street Hooligans on the thumbnails, but
I think it was the promo.
Was it but I think it was like a magazine promo or something. Was that a thing?
I think it was either the magazine promo or it was the LGS promo through the game.
Maybe that was it. Yeah.
No, I think it was Ravain, Sean. Not the 3-mana Nissa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the one that cared about elves.
The bad one, the super bad one.
Oh, that one is bad. Jesus.
All right, so I think we're gonna end the show here. We've been dragging ass long enough, but John, thank you very much for joining us, man. It is super fun talking with you and hanging out with you finally after we've been talking on DMing on the internet for over 2 years now.
Oh yeah, and you've been on my channel twice.
That's right. That's right. I have terrible memory. Jesus Christ. That's right. I've been on a Hive Mind, and then what was the other one that I was on?
That was we were reviewing the MCU phases. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And I entered in like an hour late because I'm late like usual.
Because you're Nick.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was when we were throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what stuck. We're just like, what can we talk about? MCU. Kids like MCU films. Yeah,
I think it was because Avengers was getting ready to come out, wasn't it?
It was right before Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were going over it. I was just like, I've never seen Black Panther. I don't know if I want to see it. It looks like a Lion King remake. I'm good.
Dude, that was super awkward. And I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but because we reviewed all the phases and we did a podcast for each phase. I think phase 2, we had the guy from ATZ show who's like a 250,000 subscriber.
You had that guy on there?
Right? He said yes for some reason. He came on and said like nothing. It was the most awkward podcast ever. Like Tony and I are just like, yeah, and you think about blah, 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 and blah, blah. And then it was just like, right, Arturo? And oh man, it was just very bizarre. Yeah. Yeah, man. I've had weird people. Dude, I've had good, bad flicks on my channel. I don't know how these people are saying yes, but I'm going to keep asking.
Yeah, man. Just got to fucking throw it out there on the table.
Yep.
Yeah, what is that quote from Wade and Gretzky? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But it seems like with you land 100% of the shots that you take.
I still can't. Dev will never answer my phone call. Neither will. I don't know what's up with that dude, but
well, it's because he's strictly better than you. Got him.
Yeah.
So where can people find you, John?
You can find me on YouTube on They Said We Said. You can find me now on that's doing the Hive Mind show. That's kind of the flagship show. If I can spoil next week's episode here, I would be happy to do that. So next week I'm gonna have one of the biggest cosplayers out there, and that's Ashlyn Rose is going to be joining me on the Hive Mind next week. And then like I said earlier on the channel, you could find Director's Cut with Jason Alt. You could find all those fun shows on They Said We Said. You could find me on Twitter at OrzhovDunn. You can find the Hive Mind show now in podcast form on constructedcriticism.com, which is pretty sweet. So yeah. Thanks. Hey, guys, thank you so much. McBee, I'm so happy to finally meet you and talk to you, not just in a creepy stalker form in the chat. It's great to talk to you, man.
You too, brother. You too.
Yeah, of course. And McBee, thank you very much for joining us, as always. Eventually, we're going to have one of these podcasts where you're not going to be able to attend, and I'm going to be very sad. Because I'm always going to miss you dancing in the corner at the end of every episode.
Every episode, man.
Every episode. We still need to pick a different song for each episode. That was a meme. We did that for one episode, and it was that ODB song. That
yeah.
Dirty, baby, I got your money.
Nice.
That's classic.
I was about to say, you've done a significantly more better. Jeez, I can't talk correctly.
It's late.
Yeah, it's late. We'll attribute it to the chili dog that I just ate. It's getting at my brain, guys. But you did an amazing intro, singing NSYNC, or was it Backstreet Boys?
Oh,
I want it that way.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Did I sing on camera? That doesn't sound like me.
No, that wasn't you and me. That was John. He did that on his channel.
Oh, thank God. I was like, I don't remember doing that, and I'm sorry if I did.
Oh man, I just love Johnny Slivers on that. It was so he was just so uncomfortable and so upset. And Mountain, what was his Mountain Man MTG, Seth, the other Seth, not better known as Saffron Olive.
Oh.
He was actually a good boy band member. Like he was on key. Like I'm like, what are you doing? This is supposed to be terrible. And it was.
No, man, you got to keep trying it every time. Just a different Backstreet Boys or NSYNC song. You know, bring in some O2 and other boy bands. You know, Boys to Men. You got a lot of material to pine from, dude.
If you guys are joining me, I'll do it.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll sing anything.
All right. When can I get the Mana Dorks on 10th Street?
Whenever, man. I'm pretty much free whenever you're live. Most of the time when you're live, I'm watching. So
cool.
Send me that invite. Send me that invite. McBee, you need to be more active on Twitter. You need to network with people.
Fuck Twitter.
Yeah, fuck Twitter. It's a cesspit.
Twitter's the worst, dude. I keep it in my little pool of things. It's Instagram only for me.
Trust me, as someone who puts their foot in their mouth quite often on Twitter, I can attest. It's bad. Stay away from it.
I'm pretty sure I've already said racist things on Twitter before. It's fine.
People will bring it up like 5-10 years from now to expose
deleting Twitter account now.
This small town radio DJ host said the N-word 15 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
You did? Unsubscribe.
Yep.
McBee is over party.
Just joking. Don't look.
Hashtag Mana Dorks is over party. And on that note, we will end episode 15 of the Mana Dorks podcast with our amazing host, John from They Said We Said. John, thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you, McBee, for always being there and being a comrade through and through.
Pew, 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 finger guns.
Yeah. Pew, pew. Pew, 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 pew. Dancing. All right. As always, my name is Tasty Snackies. You all have been wonderful, and I'll catch you on the flip side.